So it has been a week since we spoke about the 8 passengers situation, and if you've been keeping up with this topic, you will not be surprised to hear we have more updates. We have some more statements from family members and ex-friends, we have an update to the case itself, and we also have a Hulu show that has just recently came out talking about this. And I guess we'll start there because there's not too much to talk about, but I did just find it interesting, and the big positive of Hulu making a show about the situation is that more people are going to hear about it. Now, I actually don't have Hulu, I'm not even sure if you can get it in the UK, I'm sure you probably can, but I haven't seen the show, but from what I've heard, it is like the same type of information that we were already aware of. Which isn't a bad thing, by the way. The big positive here, like I said, is that more and more people are going to hear about it because it's becoming more mainstream. So people who don't keep up to date with YouTube, maybe don't even watch YouTube at all, are going to hear about this. And if we're being honest here, I really wouldn't be surprised if Jodi was so delusional in the fact that as soon as she is free and she's allowed to kind of do whatever she wants, I guess, she would carry on doing these life coaching classes and whatnot. And it goes without saying, I don't think she should be able to do that in the single slightest, but hopefully with this story becoming so big and becoming so mainstream, no one's going to trust Jodi anymore. Now, I'll show a snippet from the show that's on YouTube right now. It's called Inside Ruby Frank's Alleged Double Life. And obviously, if you do want to watch a show, it's on Hulu if you want to see the full thing.
Just one count of aggravated child abuse is up to 15 years in jail. At the same time, they can say, you know what? We found out you abused them 6 different times. You could really get to a high number here.
And I mean, it should definitely be a high number, shouldn't it? I do want to stay hopeful that justice will be served and they won't just be let off lightly with like a really lessened sentence, because there is so much evidence to prove that Jodi and Ruby have been doing these things over the years, just from the stuff that they've posted themselves. And then you've got to bear in mind they're doing an investigation right now to look into the stuff that wasn't on camera. There should be more than enough evidence for justice to be served, so I would like to think that that would happen. Now, in the show, they interview a few people. We have Jodi Hildebrandt here, who we've spoke about. I believe they also speak to Adam Steed. I could be wrong about that. Like I said, I haven't actually seen the full show yet. And then we also have John Dellin here, who's from Mormon Stories podcast, another person that we spoke about quite a lot on this channel recently. But yeah, like I said, if you do want to watch it, it's on Hulu. And yeah, the big positive out of this is that more and more people are going to hear about it. So I'm glad this has came out. But yeah, moving on, we actually have an update to the case. Not specifically the child abuse case, but more so the custody case. And it's a good update in my opinion. As we can see by this article, it says, Ruby Franke child welfare case to be sealed from public media. A judge has ordered the child welfare case regarding Ruby Franke to be sealed, saying the public and media interest will be detrimental to the best interest of the minor parties involved. And it carries on to talk about the media here, and says that the press had gained unannounced access to a September 7th hearing in which sensitive information about Franke's children was discussed. I'm assuming they talk about the Daily Mail here. And then it carries on saying at a separate hearing at September 18th, the judge said the media representatives took photographs of individuals involved in the case while in a hallway outside the courtroom, which is prohibited. Now, if they're talking about the children specifically here, this is absolutely grim if there was actually a media representative trying to like locate where the children were walking so they could take pictures. Grim behaviour. So I think this is a very good update for the privacy of the children while they go through something extremely overwhelming, and I can't even believe how hard it must be to deal with. It does also say in the article that extended members of the Franke family will be allowed to attend the hearings, but they will be prohibited from posting anything to social media or sharing what occurred with members of the media. And then again carries on to say Bazel's decision only pertains to the child welfare case regarding Franke and not the criminal case involving her and a business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt, in which both were charged with 6 counts each of felony child abuse. So it looks like we are still going to get updates for that case specifically, but I still don't think there is a court date that has been confirmed. They did say a while ago that it would be after October 5th. Obviously, we are past October 5th now, but there still hasn't been a date confirmed to the best of my knowledge. Now, another update we have is a statement from an ex-friend of Ruby Franke and just 8 passengers in general. They have a YouTube channel themselves called The Leroys, who also do like family vlogging type videos. And since they were friends and they used to do videos together, there's been a lot of comments on their videos recently asking like, what are your opinions on the 8 passengers situation? We haven't heard anything from you. And they have now replied to a few of these comments, and this is what they had to say. I haven't talked to Ruby or seen her since 2020. We distanced ourselves from them when she was trying to coach me and my parenting style in the BVIs. I told Corey something was not right with her and we needed to distance ourselves. Yeah, it looks like a lot of people started having this realization with Ruby quite a while ago, and even then I still don't believe that they could ever imagine what could possibly be going on behind the scenes. But yeah, the red flags have been there for so long. I'm sincerely asking this in the nicest way possible, but why does my opinion on this even matter? I totally get that you asked because we were once friends, but the main concern should be about the kids and not about what I think. It's absolutely disgusting and heartbreaking. I can't even fathom her parenting style. I pray those kids will get the proper therapy they need to get through this trauma. My heart breaks for them. I can't even imagine what they're all feeling. And yeah, of course, in this paragraph he does say, like, why does my opinion even matter? But he would would have carried on getting comments like this, which I don't agree with, right? You don't need to go to anyone who's ever had contact with Ruby to, like, berate them of their opinions. But I do think it's good that they replied to this and given a statement, because hopefully that now means that they won't get bombarded with messages. I actually wasn't really aware of who the Leroys were, so I don't know the extent of their friendship. I've seen that they did do quite a few videos together, but I think it speaks volumes that they noticed that there was something wrong with Ruby, and the fact that she was trying to coach them on their parenting style and all this, like, it's not really a surprise with Ruby, but God, like, it really makes you think, how many people has she done this with? But now moving on to a couple of statements from Ruby's sister, Bonnie. Bonnie has actually recently uploaded 2 separate videos. The second one has actually been deleted pretty quickly after it was uploaded. Now, I haven't actually seen the second one myself because, like I said, it was deleted very quickly, but there is a summary on Reddit that I wanted to go through. It's on a Reddit page that I've kept up to date with 8 Passengers for years now. It's where I get a lot of, like, information from as well. They do a great job over there. So I trust their summary, but I do just want to make it very clear. I haven't actually seen a video myself, so I can't say with 100% fact that it's definitely 100% right. But the video that was uploaded first is still up. It was uploaded 6 days ago, and it's called How I Told My Kids About Aunt Ruby. And it's a video where Bonnie goes into details on how she told her kids about Ruby, but also just about Ruby in general and some more information that we hadn't heard yet. So the video starts off with Bonnie saying that her family and Ruby's family were very, very close at one point.
Ruby's family and my family were very intertwined.
But then Bonnie goes on to say that as soon as Ruby joined Connexions, her actions actually started bleeding through the family.
After Ruby started implementing what she was learning in Connexions, her actions naturally bled through her family.
And then Bonnie says that these beliefs started getting told to her children with the cousins talking, and obviously Bonnie wasn't happy about this, and it started causing a bunch of friction between the cousins.
They were teaching that to my kids, which was odd, and that had caused some friction between the cousins.
And then Bonnie goes on to reference a video from a few years ago where they talk about sleepovers, because Bonnie and Ruby would kind of like split the kids, have separate sleepovers, like one would have the girls, one would have the boys. And due to all this stuff going on, Ruby's talking about her beliefs, it's getting passed on and whatnot. Bonnie felt very uncomfortable about this, and she told Ruby that there was going to be no more sleepovers.
It was a really big deal when I told Ruby that I don't feel comfortable having sleepovers or switching kids with you anymore. That was a very big deal. She was mad. She was mad when I told her that.
And as you just heard, Ruby was very mad about this, and it wasn't actually long after this situation happened that Ruby decided to completely cut off the family.
And then between then and when Ruby cut our family off, there wasn't a lot of time and there wasn't a lot of communication.
And then after Ruby decided to cut ties with the rest of the family, she apparently, according to Bonnie, started making up false accusations about the family.
The things that she was accusing my parents of, the things that she was accusing us kids of, they were just flat out made up stories.
And even says that they went as far to have a family meeting about this to talk about what Ruby had been saying, and came to the conclusion that Ruby was definitely lying in their opinion.
You know, my mom and dad had a meeting with every one of us kids, and we all just came to the conclusion that no, this is a lie. But it's not like we just dismissed what she said in the beginning. It was, no, we took it very seriously, and we all asked each other individually.
Now, obviously, it's very hard for me to have an opinion on this because I don't know what the accusations were. I don't really know much about this situation specifically at all and what was said, but that's what Bonnie said. If you have any thoughts, let me know in the comment section down below. But Bonnie actually goes on to talk about Jodi Hildebrandt here and says that this is something that Jodi does. She speaks to her clients and basically convinces them that someone in their family, someone very close to them, has done something that they haven't done.
This is something that Jodi has done, is she gets in people's lives and she plants these ideas or accusations against people when that is just not true.
Now that in itself is definitely true, right? We have seen so much evidence to prove that Jodi Hildebrandt will convince and manipulate her clients for them to believe that some of their family has done something that they haven't done, just so she can tear the family apart for whatever reason. I mean, she's been doing it for over a decade at this point. But one thing I will say, and it's not even completely in relation to this video, but just kind of the media coverage in general, I feel like a lot of people are giving Ruby a bit of a pass. Like, yeah, she's obviously taken a lot of backlash for this, but I feel like most of the stuff I'm seeing online is talking about how Jodi is kind of like the kingpin here, and it's all her fault, which, I mean, yeah, a big portion of it is her fault, but it's both of their faults equally, in my opinion. We were talking about Ruby way before before Jodi was even in the picture, when her actions were extremely questionable, and that was just the stuff that we saw online. So yeah, of course, when Jodi got involved, the situation does seem to have got a lot worse, but Ruby wasn't an angel by any means, as well as Kevin. That's what we spoke about in the last video. I feel like some of the coverage is going a bit easy on Ruby. Obviously not all, but I have seen a few articles from different like news stations and whatnot that seem to go a bit easy on her. I don't really get it. Now obviously them opinions are based on the situation specifically with Ruby's kids. If we want to go into the situations regarding Jodi Hildebrandt and her previous clients with Adam Paul Steed, I completely understand that, right? But I've even seen people talking about the situation with Ruby's kids specifically and taking it easy on Ruby, which is mental to me. Now, Bonnie does say in this video that she has told her kids about the situation, but she keeps it pretty vague.
I just told them what was happening as it was happening, but keeping it very surface. Just Ruby doesn't want communication with our family. We're not allowed to talk with our cousins anymore.
And she also told her kids that when they're 18, they can make the decision if they want to reach out to her or not.
I just said when they're 18, when you're 18, you'll be able to reach out and you'll be able to see if you can form a relationship then.
But yeah, like I mentioned, this is only one of the 2 videos that Bonnie posted about the situation within the last week, and the most recent one was posted yesterday and was quickly deleted. And as I also mentioned, I do have a summary of that video, but I haven't actually seen the video myself, as very important to say. I haven't seen it, so I can't say with 100% certainty that this is definitely correct. But I do trust the people that have wrote this personally. They have been very up to date with this situation and clearly care about it a lot. But yeah, that's just worth saying. Now I'll just go through some of the points that stand out to me. So the summary says, multiple Netflix producers have reached out about filming a docu-series. She states that the one reason she would consider agreeing to do a docu-series is to tell her side of the story, but notes that in reality there is just so much legal that goes into it. There is so much PR that goes into it, and that is not something I feel like any of us could really handle. She goes on to further state that if she desires her side of the story to be shared, she will share it on her own platform. Now I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anybody that Netflix are planning to do a documentary on this. I saw literally the first day that this news broke that there was going to be a Netflix documentary. To be honest, I thought there could have been a Netflix documentary before this story broke about effing that we've seen. I thought that could have definitely been a possibility. But if we're going to believe this, it does seem like Netflix are planning something for the future, which is actually quite crazy when you think about it, because I've had comments on my 8 Passages videos for a long time from people comparing Ruby Franke to someone else who had a series on them. I want to say the name was like Laurie something, but I saw those comparisons a lot, and now it does seem like Ruby might actually get her Netflix series, which, yeah, like I said, it's a bit mental when you think about it. But the summary carries on and says that Bonnie states throughout this video that she will be providing a timeline for her life concerning Ruby. So according to the summary, Bonnie says that her relationship with Ruby was very different to her and her other sisters. She says that Ruby hated to share when they were growing up, but she says that this isn't exactly a bad thing in itself, and carries on to say that most of the arguments that the sisters had were just your typical sister arguments. And then according to the summary, Bonnie states that Ruby has always been very competitive. She spoke about how she wanted to have a 6th child, and then when asked why she wanted a 6th child, she said that because mum had 5, so why can't she have 6? When they were doing piano classes growing up, it seemed like Ruby was just trying to be the best at it instead of enjoying it. And also says that this could be a reason why Ruby struggles to make long-lasting friends because of her competitiveness, whereas with Bonnie and the other sisters, they're always kind of there for each other and they look out for whatever's best for each other. And then Bonnie also apparently said Ruby didn't have the same capacity to be compassionate or selfless as the rest of us, and so where one person lacks, the other person picks up the slack, and that's what you do with family. And Bonnie gives an example of another situation where in their teenage years, Bonnie ran for Miss Roy, and when she asked Ruby if she would help make a dress for the competition, Ruby's response was, well, why didn't I get to run for Miss Roy? And the summary continues to say that Bonnie believes that Ruby's inclination to follow whatever is the most popular at the time and inability to see her own self-worth is how she was drawn into the current situation. And then the summary continues stating that Bonnie said that Ruby always wanted to be the best at whatever she did, whether this was vlogging, subscriber counts, views, or whatever, and she didn't care if it was going to be harmful, she just wanted to be the best. And then it also says Bonnie posits that she believes Ruby lacks the self-confidence needed to make sound and secure decisions. And Bonnie actually ends the video by referencing the fact that she believes Ruby made up lies about their family when she cut them off, and she says that Ruby actually named her firstborn son Chad after their father, and she wouldn't have done that if she didn't have love and appreciation for her father. And then according to the summary, the video actually ends with some text boxes on the screen. The first one states, I believe that Jodi saw how insecure Ruby was and she preyed on her. Jodi groomed Ruby into what Jodi wanted Ruby to be. With that said, Ruby is still 100% responsible for her actions. The second states, I believe that Ruby saw an opportunity to be one of the top dogs of Connexions, especially when she wasn't doing well on YouTube anymore, so her competitiveness kicked in. The third states, I believe Ruby has a hard time thinking for herself or feeling content with what she has, so it was easy for Jodi to step in and just tell her exactly what to think. The fourth says, I believe Ruby wanted to have a story or a trauma that she could tell Jodi, but simply didn't have one, or Jodi forced her into telling her lies about our family, which Jodi is known for doing. Ruby selfishly made up stories about our family. So yeah, like I mentioned, this is just a summary of the video. I haven't actually seen the full thing myself, but I would love to know your thoughts. If you were someone who did see the video actually, like what were your opinions on it when you watched it? From what I can tell and what I've seen, people's feelings towards the video was that it didn't really need to be uploaded and it felt like a bit of a weird upload, which might have a reason to do with why it was deleted. I'm not 100% sure, but I would love to know your thoughts down below on that video and everything that we spoke about in today's video. And yeah, that's all the updates that we have for today. If you are new, subscribe and all that stuff, and until the next one, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, goodbye.